Good morning, everybody. Hey, I'm hiding out here behind my barn, and well, you can see all the water laying back there. There's the cottage in the back. Yeah, and up above me, probably you won't be able to see it too well. Those trees are just loaded with birds right now. Starlings just all over the place saying, "Good morning!" Yeah, and it is a good morning. You know why? Because I, who usually get up at 4:30 in the morning every day, except on Sunday when I get up, well, some Sundays I get up at 4:30, but mostly it's around 5:30. I did not set the alarm clock today because no one had to be anywhere anytime soon. And guess what? It was 8:30 when I woke up. So this is coming to you really super late today, but there's going to be a few other ones that might be coming late this week as well. Oh, it felt so good. And since I had no alarm clock getting up, what did wake us up was the sound of cats scratching at the door saying, "Feed us, feed us." Well, okay. Well, here we are. We're outside now amongst all these birds up above and the water down below. Yep, that's usually dry in the summer, and it's pretty wet right now. And it's also Testy Tuesday. I'm going to give you a test. You know, we talked about this a couple times before. There's a certain prophet whose book in the Old Testament is a lot of judgment upon the people of Israel. But there's one little section called the Book of Comfort. Who is the prophet of whom we are speaking? Is it Isaiah? Is it Jeremiah? Is it Ezekiel? Is it Daniel? Come on, you should know this because we just talked about him. Well, we talked about a lot of different prophets toward the end of the year. But this one was the end of October, beginning of November, right in that area. It was the Book of Comfort that we also read from. And part of that passage is our passage today, too. It is the prophet Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, as he's often called, because he's actually heartbroken for his people. And he's crying over what's about to happen to them. But there's this little thing called the Book of Comfort. It's a couple chapters nestled right smack dab in the middle of Jeremiah. And it has some awesome words of hope for the people. Now, I was reading a commentary by a Pastor Jacobson from out in Minnesota. And he gave us a neat little thing to remember our passage today. It's the 31st chapter, verses 7 through 12. And he said, if you look at it, there's 5 R's, 5 words that begin with the letter R. Not necessarily in the Hebrew, but in our English, that almost virtually every translation has these words in it. They are remnant, return, ransom, redeem, and rejoice. Isn't that pretty simple? And if the passage flows right in that order. Remnant, return, ransom, redeem, rejoice. Got that? So what's going on with this? Well, Jeremiah is living at a time when the people are being carried off into captivity into Babylon. And it's not a very happy time. It's very sad. So he has this vision of what is ahead, though. And one of the things that's coming is this time where there will be people who are left there in captivity who still cling on to that hope that they will return to Israel. And that's exactly what happens. Jeremiah prophesies that time when that remnant will return to Jerusalem. And it's going to be a time in which they know that God above has ransomed them, redeemed them, and those two words are used together an awful lot throughout the Older Testament. Ransomed and redeemed. Usually it referred to someone who was in slavery, either sold themselves into slavery or someone else had done it because, hey, they owed them a lot of money. But once that monetary ransom was paid, they now became free people again. They were redeemed. And that's the way it's going to feel like when you're finally allowed to return back home to Jerusalem. Ransom, redeemed, and because of that, you can rejoice. Now you might say, well, what does that have to do with us? We're not slaves to anybody, and we don't need to be ransomed and redeemed. Hey, but we need to be ransomed and redeemed from a lot of things that trouble us, that imprison us, that bog us down in life. Come on, we live in that time of trouble right now with the coronavirus, and here a lot of us, myself included, thought, wow, we're finally seeing the light and we're moving out back into the times in which we can do what we want to do, and all of a sudden, bam, it's like we got hit to the gut once again. But you know what? We keep looking ahead. We keep looking ahead to the future. And if you read the passage, it's 7 through 12, you see that working through it, there's just a couple of things here that really pop out at you. And one is, it talks about the people having been scattered, and they're going to be brought in from all over the place. All people, especially those who have been kicked and are down and out. God has a special place in his heart for them. And they're all going to be ransomed and redeemed. All of us will be and brought back. But it also talks about, this is the God who scattered us in the first place. God did this to us? Well, see, not in the sense that we often say, look, God's just an awful person, and look what he did to us, people. No, that's not what it's being said there. What's being said is God, it is, and this is kind of tough to understand, but it is the thought process going on in the Older Testament. God allowed these things to happen to us. Why? Because he loves us. And that's kind of a weird way to look at it, but that's what you often see in the Older Testament. He allowed these things to happen. He allowed us to be scattered because he loves us, because we were just going the wrong way, and we wouldn't listen to the other prophets that came and said, hey, change your ways. And because of that, it just had to happen. In fact, we brought the judgment upon ourselves. But now we're going to be ransomed and redeemed. And when we are, it's a time to rejoice. And that's what this whole season of the church year is. It's about rejoicing. And this Old Testament passage fits well into our gospel lesson that we have coming up this Sunday, which is the prologue to the Gospel of John, in which we are just filled with awe and wonder about this God above who sent his Son to us. And you just have to read it. It's the first chapter of the Gospel of John. You got to read the whole thing. It's language that is just filled with beauty, wonder, excitement, and also just full of grace and truth for you and for me. But for now, it's the prophet Jeremiah that we're looking at once again, with his words of comfort for you and for me. Well, these birds are still in the trees. They're kind of flying all over the place, and they're making all kind of noise up there. I don't know if you can see any of them. Maybe you can see some of them flying around up there. Like I said, it's kind of hard to see on my phone, but hey, God's blessings be with you as we move toward the celebration of a new year, and hopefully for you and for me, it will be a good one. Blessings be with you.